Hey guys, it's a little late, but let's take a look at what I did accomplish in the month of February. Hey guys, if you are new, welcome to the Book Path. I'm Nicole, and if not, welcome back. It's a few days later than I would have liked to have released this. Basically, shortly after my last video, I started hurting in my throat, and I started thinking that I might have strep throat, but luckily I did not. But I wish I could say it went away. It slightly went away, and then it came back with a vengeance, and I ended up losing my voice for a few days. Wasn't really like anything viral or anything like that, so I'm okay on that. Didn't get a fever, no other symptoms. Ended up finding out allergies were coming earlier this year. Normally, we're in a newer area. We just came to this area. This is like our second year here. And I'm used to starting my allergy medicine in March for later March, April, May allergies. Apparently everything wanted to blossom overnight here, and although it's really pretty to look at, the pollen clouds in the air basically affected me so much that I got some sort of like laryngitis, lost my voice. It still comes and goes a little bit, still have a little bit of a cough, but so much better now, so I'm actually able to finish this and let you guys know what's going on. I'll have to refer if I can speak, to a couple of notes, just because it's been a while and I got to go back to these books now, because I did read quite a few since our last chat. So let's go ahead and get into it. Well, let's not get into it. First and foremost, did I complete a challenge, or did I complete the readathons that I assigned for myself in February? As you can remember, I was doing Polarthon, Literature Club, Pharaoh Feb. I only completed like one, and we'll let you know which one it was, but I think you can pretty much safely assume what it is when I say I didn't complete Polarthon, which you guys already knew. I did not get a chance to go back to any of those books left over, and I did not complete Pharaoh Feb. I think I was like 5 books away from completing everything I set out to accomplish in the month of February. But what I did accomplish was pretty interesting. So first and foremost, all of these are ebooks. I kind of abused my Kindle Unlimited subscription this month and just went to town, which is fine because that's what it's there for. But the first up that I read was River of Shadows by Karina Hale. And this one, to me, basically you have a girl who she was kind of estranged from her father, who lives somewhere around Norway, like a Scandinavian type Danish background descent, and he's living there. She's living in, I think, outside LA, and she gets news that he's passed away. So she's now traveling for his funeral, and when she gets there, things just take a little bit of a weird turn, and she ends up on an adventure in the kind of, I guess the best way to compare it to would be like a sort of Viking underworld, like a Norse mythology underworld, which I was really interested in because I don't really see a lot of the Norse take on the underworld. I'm used to the like more Greco-Roman style of the underworld. So I wanted to see what it was about. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. To me, it was what it was. It wasn't above and beyond for me. It was really a lot darker for me than I was used to. And I don't mean darker as in like your darker, more twisted romance. I mean, it was more of like horror romance to me. It was interesting. Basically, this came off as sort of a Hades and Persephone, Beauty and the Beast with hints of the Little Mermaid mashup, if that makes sense. Looking at my notes, okay, it was Finnish. So she went to Finland. So clarifying that through my notes. Otherwise, if I'm wrong, correct me. But like I said, it really catered on horror and romance. Lots of gore, lots of kind of fighting. The romance really didn't hit into the book until like about 60% of the way in. And I don't really want to say it was romance. I don't really feel a emotional kind of pull between the two characters, the main character and the love interest. It was very, I guess, carnal and like more carnal and lust and that kind of feelings going into things, with which, hey, I'm like, if you're there for it, great. I'm like, I need a little bit more of like the emotional attachment to, because then it's just kind of like I need something to pull me along throughout the story, because yeah, the more intimate scenes can be great, they can be more carnal, but if that's kind of all there is and there's nothing else emotionally kind of pulling these two characters together, then I don't sense a romantic relationship in the book. And that's kind of what it was for me. It felt like maybe things were going to get into it. I know this is the first in a series. I don't know if I'll continue with the series. Like, it wasn't bad, but this might be one that I like push aside. So like if I need another underworld trope or something like that, or something that I feel is more on the darker side of romance, then maybe I will continue picking this up. Because like I said, it wasn't bad. I just didn't really find myself caring for any of the characters in it. The more smutty scenes, I wasn't feeling a part of the story. So it was what it was. So 3 stars for that. Finished that. Okay, so next I ended up reading Kingdom of Villains by Ella Fields. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I actually kind of enjoyed this one. Basically, you have a young girl who she is the way it's portrayed is her uncle runs the kingdom. She's the niece. She's a princess. She's kind of a wild child, unruly, whatever. This extends into when she's a teenager. And she finds out, she basically likes to go and save wild creatures. And sometimes they're not the most suited to really be in the kingdom. They need to be in the wild because they are more likely to kill somebody. So she's rescuing these kind of pig-like dog baby creatures. I'm not sure. But she's rescuing them and she hides them in the dungeons of the castle. And when she's there, she finds out that the prince of the neighboring kingdom has basically come over and he's prisoner as they're trying to negotiate between her kingdom and his kingdom. And his kingdom is the demon kingdom. His mother reigns and he's set to inherit, and basically there's power struggles going on. Her uncle's very power hungry, but he doesn't like that the demons have like magical powers. They don't have as strong magical powers, if any. So the uncle's basically been kind of torturing him and doing things. And while he's there, the princess and him kind of develop a friendship until she basically like lets him go. She finds out that her uncle is going to kill him, and she doesn't want that to happen, so she lets him go. And when he leaves, he kisses her goodbye, lets her go. And lo and behold, she finds out that I believe he's a dragon, like he's a dragon shifter type, which is once in a blue moon amongst the demon kingdom. So he's very powerful, but he's also very deadly even to his own kingdom. So she finds that out and she's like, oh, what did I do? What did I do? She's really kind of tortured by her uncle. She's on the run until she gets captured. She's about to be put to death, and who should show up but the demon prince, his mom, their whole entourage of monsters. And they're like, you're going to give her to us. You're going to give her to us. We're going to take it. Otherwise, we'll take over your kingdom. So they take her back, and they basically like, she starts to learn that maybe the monster world and the demon kingdom isn't really what she's been kind of raised to believe. She's reintroduced to the creatures that she's kind of saved, that the prince is taking care of. And there's a bond that really starts to happen. And the spice in this one was very nice. I think I didn't give a rating for River of Shadows. River and Shadows, I will say it was a 5-star just because, like I said, it was very carnal. So the way that they describe it, I would say you really have to be used to reading spicy books to get to that level. This one, I will say it's probably about a 4 or a 5 star. It's not as carnal as the other one. There are some scenes. There are a lot of scenes once the ball kind of gets rolling, but there is a lot more emotion and relationship between these two characters than in the other book. So I really did like it. I do kind of wish it would have been longer because I felt like once things kind of started rolling, they really, really sped up. And I kind of wanted that enemies to lovers relationship to go a little bit more because it really felt like a very quick flip for me. And I just kind of wanted to ride that a little bit more. The climax, the battles and things that are the war that's starting to be raged, I felt like this could have been like a duology, maybe even a trilogy, because you could have paced it and then got into the relationship, this like the more loving side of their relationship, and then have everything around them start to escalate to where you have the great epic battle and then the ending from there. So it was really good, but because I was like, I wish it would have just paced a little differently, that kind of took it down for me, and that became a 4. But it's still good. I recommend it. I will be probably looking for more of her books because I did like her writing style. So okay, so next I ended up reading the Literature Club book pick for the month, and that was A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor. This was a 4-star book, 5 stars plus on the spice-o-meter. It was basically, you have a girl who she is a maid in a household, and she does a lot of very naughty things, and she does things that a girl in the, I want to say, late 19th century, early 20th century should not be doing. And while she's kind of doing some inappropriate things, she gets discovered by a doctor who's a guest at the house at the time to treat for treating the lady of the household, and he smiles at catching her doing this. And later on, when the family that she's serving, they are basically down on luck, have to sell their estates and things like that and get rid of the staff, she's worried she's going to be without a job, and the doctor seeks her out to say, come to my place, I think I might have something up your alley. She's thinking she's going to the doctor to be his lover, mistress, girl for the night, I don't know. There's a scene there, and then what he basically tells her is that he is a monster, basically. He's kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde-ish character, and that he knows of a house outside of London where monsters go, and what you find, it's basically a brothel for monsters, high-end brothel for monsters, where these human women are given over to in the main character's case, she gets 5 or 6 guys, like her own kind of reverse harem, and all of them are monsters. So she gets the Jekyll and Hyde character, an invisible man, a vampire, a sphinx, a gargoyle, and I think that's it. I might be missing one, I'm not sure. But basically, she gets her own little harem of monsters, and it's how she the spice just takes off through the roof. This book is, if you've watched the Literature Club kind of review on this, which I'll go ahead and link that down below. If you watch that, a lot of the people didn't really care for it because they felt it was like no real plot line. And I kind of agree to a point. I think up until about 60%, 70% of the book, it's more spicy scenes than anything else. It's like a written form of a video, if you catch my drift. And then the plot's kind of slowly going underneath all of this. And then about, like I said, 60-70% through, the plot kind of starts to pick up and you see kind of what's going on. This is the first in a series, so the plot will kind of thicken and continue after that. But I was kind of okay with it. I didn't mind it. The spicy scenes were very spicy, hence the 5-star rating on this. And when the plot scene happened, I was like, okay. And I think the reason why I was okay with it is I know that people have said that there wasn't really a plot throughout the book, but I think what I took from it that carried through was that you had the main plot of what was kind of going on in the storyline and then the smutty scenes, but I think there was also an emotional plot to this where you had a girl who was very used to intimacy and behaviors related to that in a very physical way. Like, she didn't feel anything when she would do it. It was just more for the physicality of it, and the pleasure she would get from that. But as she starts to meet these different men, she starts to fall for them, and she starts to realize that she wants a little bit more than just the physicality. She wants the emotional bonds. So she's getting the emotional bonds, while you have these monsters who they could very much go out and get the physicality of it if they wanted to, but they want they want the relationships of it, or they want the relationships as well as the physicalness. So you're having them kind of get their physical from her because she's capable. She's very capable, but she's learning to get the emotional pull of it. And I found that very kind of interesting in the aspect that, you know, we always usually think that the females in the relationships are the more emotional ones when it comes to intimacy, and the males are more the physical. And I felt like it was kind of almost reversed in this, and it was just really interesting to kind of see that. So like for me, I didn't mind the kind of lack of plot because I was kind of seeing these character changes and dynamics going on from the beginning and how she was kind of growing in this. So I really liked it. I enjoyed it. If there had been a little bit more plot, yay, I can kind of see the points in that, which is why it's not the 5-star. I wasn't particularly, I was more of a fan of the monsters than I was of the main girl. It was kind of roller coaster-ish with like her personality for me, where sometimes she'd be a little snarky, sometimes she would be that kind of maid girl from like She's the Poor Neighborhoods, and other times she had certain mannerisms where I don't know if she was trying to mimic what she learned growing up in the households which she worked. Not sure. So it just kind of fluctuated for me, but I really did like the characters. My favorites were the Invisible Man, who was like Scottish, and the I'm just trying to check my notes right now and see if I put in my there we go. I did not. I was hoping I might have put in the names for, I forgot their names. I'm really bad with the character names. I can remember plots of things, but the character names, because you read so many, I can't remember. I'm bad with names in general, so. But my favorites were the Invisible Man, who was Scottish, just because he had like this kind of like witty, fun, loving personality, and I liked that for him. It was very fitting. And then I liked the vampire. He was just very nurturing and very caring, and I just kind of liked his role in it, and they were probably like my 2 favorite out of all the guys that she was with. But like I said, 4 stars, completed the Literature Club book prompt for February, so yay, I did something. But yeah, so then the next one was Chase Me by 80, I think it's 80 Award. I ended up DNFing this one. It just wasn't for me. I know this is the first book in the series, and as I was making my way through it, it was just one of those ones where I'm like, I really don't care. This is kind of like and I'm not going to read the other ones. It just, basically you had a curvy girl, like what drew me towards this is you had a dragon shifter in love with a curvy girl. That was like awesome. I was like, I'm there. This is romance. I was like, okay, let's do this. The curvy girl she's once again names, but she's a wedding planner, and she's going through this wedding and just doing what she's doing. And when she's cleaning up after the wedding's gone, this guy shows up, and he's pretty much getting ready to attack her, and she doesn't know what's going on. He's claiming that she stole her some sort of gem or relic, and she has no idea what he's talking about, but he basically kidnaps her, and he brings her back to his castle, whatever it is, where a dragon lives. But at the same time, as he's like trying to accuse her of stealing, he's also being extremely turned on by her, and then she's trying to be argumentative with him and say, I want to leave, but at the same time she's being turned on by him. And then there's like this ghost like character or something that she can only see. Like, you find out that she might have magical powers and she's got to learn to use them. It's a very weird, it felt very rushed. It didn't feel well explained. I got to about halfway through it and I pretty much could evaluate where the plot was kind of going and who the ghost and this other person was that showed up. Their relationship was kind of like, it was I don't want to say necessarily enemies to lovers. It was like that, but it was like playful banter wise, because it was like, oh, I hate you, but you look hot in that. And it was just kind of like I couldn't get into it. I just felt like it was very, I don't want to say dumb, but just like kind of subpar the way that it felt like it could have gone, and just the angles, the language that was used, like the way that they worded and talked to each other. It felt like, I don't want to say juvenile, but like more younger than what I kind of would have thought, like in the situations that were going on and how things were happened. And it just wasn't doing it for me. So I was like, with the grand scheme of things, let me just get into something else and we'll go our separate ways. So I did DNF it. Wasn't a huge fan. And so, yeah. So the next one that I ended up reading was Demon King by Elizabeth Briggs. I was kind of excited to read this because I've been reading her Zodiac Wolf series and I've been really enjoying that series. So reading this got me excited. I ended up giving it 3 stars as a regular rating, probably about a 4-star on the Spiceometer. It did have some spicy seeds towards the end that were a little bit more descriptive. Otherwise, I probably would have given it like a 3 because it wasn't as spicy as I would have thought, but it does have stuff later on. In this, you basically have a girl who her best friend is missing in Vegas, so she goes there to try to find out what happened. And while she's there, she keeps overhearing that there is Luke, or basically it's Lucifer, and he basically runs the town. This is his town. He is Sin City. So he is there, and she basically makes a deal with the devil to have him help her find her friend, and she will spend 7 nights with him, 1 for each of the deadly sins. So I thought that could have been a little bit more spicier, to be honest, and playing a spice factor into each of the sins. It doesn't necessarily go that way, but you start to unravel that this is the girl is Lucifer's mate. She's been his mate throughout several reincarnations, going back to the Adam and Eve story. And I did enjoy it. There are sequels to this, so it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I probably will read it because I do like Elizabeth Briggs' storytelling and kind of the way she runs through things. This felt very much like wow, the light just changed and I just started dark circles. Wow. This book basically felt very much almost fan fiction to the Lucifer TV show that's out with the very handsome actor that plays him, because in this, Lucifer is also British and gorgeous and sounds just like the guy from the show. He also has one of his right hand demons, if you will, that is a female who kicks butt and is awesome, just like in the show. It just felt very like I got those kind of vibes from it. So if she came out and said, yes, I was inspired by the show, I'd be like, yeah, got it. But it was interesting. It does leave off on a cliffhanger. So it wasn't bad. Like I said, I ended up giving it 3 because it was what it was. I still prefer her Zodiac Wolf series over this one. But, it was I enjoyed it. And then last but not least, I have the Courts of Fate and Fear by Elizabeth S. Trafalgar. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not sure. This one I also gave 3 stars to. I and it's probably about a 3-star on the spice scale. It's very kind of tame, but there are like, I think between 1 and 3 tame scenes. Basically in this, you have kingdoms that are, there's a bunch of different kingdoms. 2 of them are at war. The girl, the main character, she is the oldest daughter of the king, and she's seen as a failure. She doesn't have any, basically this kingdom runs off of the women of the royal family have visions and prophecies, and she is born without this power. So her father basically strips her of her title of being, you know, kind of the advisor to her brother, who is set in line to be the next king, and instead that role is given to her younger sister, who has the visions. So she's treated kind of like invisible as the black sheep of the family because she doesn't have these powers, but she does grow. She loves her people. She does want to do good for them, and they've been kind of raised to believe that the neighboring kingdom is absolutely horrible, that they're war hungry, that they might even be cannibalistic, like just the worst things that you can imagine about another kingdom, and that you got to be careful because if they catch you, I mean, they want to take over a kingdom. They're power hungry and mad, and so she's grown up thinking that, and her father, as a last-ditch effort, basically sends her on a death quest. He sends her out to find a seer or a high priestess or a witch in the woods, and that through the witch she should get her powers back and she can come back. This is because her younger sister has this vision about her getting her powers through the witch or whatever in the woods. Lo and behold, this is a woods where basically, I mean, it's a death sentence. There's monsters, there's thieves, there's, I mean, everything. And so she goes there with her companion, her lady's maid, and like a handful of soldiers. She's not even well protected. She has no sword fighting training, no nothing. She's just left to go out there. And of course, thieves come upon them, they get attacked, and her lady's maid basically ushers her to go because she's kind of thrown from her horse. And when she's thrown from her horse, the people don't know what happened to her. They're concentrating on the group, not her. So the lady's maid tells her to go, and she runs, knowing very well that her only friend, her lady's maid, is going to die along with the remainder of these soldiers. And she's running along, almost getting attacked by monsters, ends up in the sewers, thinks, hey, the sewer's attached to a house. I'll follow these sewers to a house and maybe that'll help me, only to discover that she has hopped the border and is now in the neighboring kingdom of the royal family that she's been like told is the most horrible people in the world. And lo and behold, they are anything but. She is taken into their kingdom, at first under a pseudonym, and she hides, and she thinks, hey, I can infiltrate them and then I can bring this back to my family. Because even though she's very upset with her father and her family, and she felt betrayed, and she feels like they hate her, she wants to do right by the kingdom. She wants to protect her people still. So she wants to do this, but all in all, she starts kind of falling in love with the kingdom and how they run things. And not only that, she's starting to fall for the prince of the kingdom. And it's a very kind of sweet love story between them. I love the friendship that kind of surrounds him and his kind of confidant of friends that they have. And they teach her magic, and they teach her sword fighting, and everything sort of starts to escalate once again into war, and how it comes about, and what's truly going on, and who's really right. And she starts having all these conflicting things because she doesn't like her family. She sees the wrong and the error of their ways, but she still wants to protect her people, and she wants to be a part of this kingdom as well because she loves the people here. She loves the king and queen. She loves the prince. And so just kind of what everybody feels, the weight and the burden of ruling and how to rule. It was really, really good on that part. But I wanted a little bit more, like I wanted a little bit more spice between them. I wanted it to be, this is another one I wanted. I think it's a duology, so there is another book involved, but I wanted this one to be a little bit more drawn out as well. There were certain elements that I wasn't crazy about. Certain characters I wasn't crazy about. I felt like some characters were just kind of blipped in the beginning and then you don't really see them. So I'm wondering if maybe you'll see them more in the second book. But, and then when the ending happened, the big climactic ending, it was very short. It felt like majority of the book was her learning certain things, kind of the friendship aspect. Then there was like, here's the friendship aspect and the learning. Here's the romance, and like here's the climax. So like for that, that's kind of the reason why I gave it 3 stars, because it kind of was what it was, but it was good for what it was, if that makes sense. So I will probably be reading the sequel because it was good enough to kind of bring me along for it. Maybe the sequel will bring it up like to 4 stars. I'm not sure, because I think the sequel is done through the sister who has the prophecy through her eyes and kind of her little romantic struggles as she does her own story. I don't want to tell her story because it would give away, spoilers for this one. But yeah, that is basically what I read for the rest of February. I wish I could have read all that I wanted. Some of the books that I wanted to read have come over into March. I will link my March T.B.R. so you can kind of see those reflected, because once again, I am trying a huge undertaking in March. But so far I've been doing pretty good on those, and I'll have my my videos to touch base with you guys on that. Like I said, throat's starting to go. So I think with that being said, this is kind of what I read in February. What did you guys read? Did you guys do any of these readathons? Did you do better than me in the readathons and complete them? Did you have a favorite romantic read for the month? Didn't have to be fantasy romance. Didn't have to be any, what was your favorite read for February? Otherwise, if you just want to let me know that you guys were here and watched the video, put a heart emoji down in the comments. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Bye.